All right, so basically, I'm making a new series, guys. Oh, all right. So basically, this is the mod creator mod packs. Basically, I'm making a mod pack based off of mod creators. This person, JTL Eliza, was actually in my Discord, so I made a mod pack based off of her mods. I would have included more of her mods, but the Library of Fair core that she uses doesn't work with some of her older mods because they need to be updated to adapt to this library. It would have been around to like 14 mods, 15 mods. With that said and done, let's get right into this. All right, so this recording is after I've received permission to actually use their mods in a one singular mod pack that I'm going to be posting on CurseForge. This mod pack will be available to download down below in the description for CurseForge, and you need the CurseForge launcher to download that. You have to go and follow the tutorial on how to import profiles, with the profile being this pack that you want to download. Let's go over the medieval entities. So the medieval entities are like medieval people that spawn around your world depending on the biome. Let me summon in the medieval entities. So they are very basic in design, and there could be so much potential for these guys, such as factions, allegiances. There could even be like dungeons specifically related to these guys. They have all these dungeon mods, but no custom enemies for them. And these medieval knights could be a custom dungeon of their own. So that would be an interesting concept that they can bring up. A lot of these mods, they're very basic in design, but if they all combine together, like all the knowledge that you've gained from modding all these things together, you can make some pretty interesting things. So that's the desert one. Spawn in the forest one. That's the forest one. Let's spawn in the hills one. That's the hills one. Spawn in the mountain one. That's the mountain one. You have to be very keen on what the differences are. They're not too different. They're also not too similar either. And then Swamp. Swamp is basically that guy, but with this armor. One thing I don't fully get is why they only have a set armor. I feel like it would be interesting if they had a different, variety, but that's perfectly fine with how they decided to make their mod. I just think that they add, they should add some variety to the individual mobs that you find around your world. Also, let's go over the ore stick thing. The ore, there's a mod that, here it is. Wow, I am so bad at what this is. So, these are prospecting sticks, and basically, they prospect for items. I don't know fully how this works, so bear in mind. It did a dinging sound. Somewhere here. Oh, is it underneath me? Is that how it is? Oh, wow. The range on these things are actually really interesting. So let's see. Wow. So the range on these things are insane. In some cases, this is actually really good. And I actually do need the... I forgot the crafting recipe of these sticks. I'll show you one on the screen right now. And to be honest, I would say that this is... There it is. I would say that this is overpowered. But now that I'm like really thinking about it, depending on the recipe, if the recipe involves the actual material, how overpowered really is that? And plus, mining down and mining up, like the methods are so... Not bizarre, but it's so like difficult to really like, I guess, do that. Like, it's not that an easy task to just go up and down just to mine for things. Like, this itself is pretty good, but you have to mine all the way right down through deep slate, through stone layers, and it's not that big of an overpowered thing. Let's go over some of these structures that are in this, because obviously, as you can see, there's some pretty interesting looking structures, and that's a village over there. So this is a dungeon. These dungeons have very interesting chest loot and very interesting spawners of various kinds. This one has this cave spider, skeleton, witch. Ooh. Oh, and overall, these dungeons are really good. One complaint that I did have that they're kind of rectifying is the loot tables. They're fixing it, so I'm not going to be on them for that. It's fine, but they're fixing the loot tables, and I do have some recordings of me going around looking at other dungeons in here, but most of them are... While they are unique in design, they're basically using a similar concept. I even ran across a jungle temple that was modified, and it was pretty cool. These are the modified villages, the better villages, if I will. I think that they should rename this mod to the awesome villages because they already have the awesome dungeon mods. They should really keep that awesome, I guess that they should keep the awesome theme, you know? But overall, these areas are amazing. I'll teleport myself over to the desert villages, but these areas are so good. They're so cool. I love the church design. I think this is a church. Oh, there's 2 diamonds there as well. But overall, I love the design of these areas. Obviously, they kind of don't have the dirt removed here, but that's fine. It's one of those village spawning bugs. We have this house here. We have that house there. These houses look more refurbished, new. Oh, this is actually a stoneworker. So there's that. These houses look amazing. This is a blacksmith. This actually looks like a good blacksmith. Look at that. That's really cool. And the desert villages simply have more personality. Look at the desert village over here. This is so nice. There's a personality to these villages. And honestly, I think that this is their best mod. There's so much uniqueness to these areas, and they're not like copying off of another village's design or anything like that. It's super specific to a desert village. I think the next one they have is a snowy village, but aside from those 3 villages, that's all they have. Here's another desert structure that they have. The loot tables are all the same, and ooh, there's actually a diamond in here and a wolf spawn egg. That's interesting. The loots in these areas are all the same, which is good and bad because some of these areas are harder to take on, and getting the same reward isn't really like that worth it. Aside from the fact that you might need dungeon loot such as name tags or saddles or horse armor. So, you know, maybe you would go for dungeons like that. But aside from that, that's basically the only real complaint that I had with the mod, which was the loot tables. So let's go over to the cluster dungeons. Cluster dungeons, yeah. Let's look at a zombie 8x8. So these are dungeons that are the vanilla dungeons, but they're bigger. And by bigger, I mean like really huge. Let me actually go into game mode spectator. Aha, here it is. So this is a dungeon for the zombies. These are mainly for mob grinding purposes. These are mainly for like having massive, huge dungeons, and it brings a new aspect into your Minecraft world. And it's also fairly vanilla friendly. You find them in underground, but I don't think that they're like too easy to find. When flying around, I actually tried my hardest to like find one of these dungeons. Like as you can see, I'm trying to fly around. Maybe it's harder for me because I'm looking underground, but I don't know. If I can't find one in spectator mode like this, it's fairly difficult to find. And that's good because at least it's not a case of, oh wow, I found a huge dungeon. That is insane. And then you just come across another huge dungeon, and then another huge dungeon, and then another huge dungeon. If you keep on coming across these big, massive dungeons, then what's the whole point? Oh, and also I added in the mod that adds in the ocean dungeons. So this is an example of a dungeon that you would find underwater. We actually have 2 of them right next to each other. So these dungeons are really difficult because of the whole underwater part. And overall, these dungeons spawn around your world as usual. Oh, and also, I also added in one of their side mods, which is the flooring mod. And you can actually use these as like side things. So there's like little flooring things, and currently the ones that are in here are all of the ore blocks, all of the wood kinds, the crafting table, furnace, bedrock, enchantment table, bricks, blast furnace even, obsidian, and the glass, and that's basically it for the flooring. And overall, they're very cool for building. I was trying to put one on the side to show you like one example of something that you can do. Here I made a little water trough. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the corners here. That's a little annoying, but it's a little water thing. Maybe make a toilet, a huge toilet. The nether dungeons are in particularly the most unbalanced because of how you get like resources from a lot of the dungeons. And by resources, I mean like, oh, hi, Bastion, how's it going? But anyways, resources like the diamond blocks in the Crimson Tree one, you get like 6 and then 1 emerald block. Whereas in one of the dungeons, you actually get 1 diamond block and you have to face 2 blaze spawners with lava pools underneath it. So yeah, this is one of the dungeons that I thought were a little unbalanced, where it has this, right? It has a diamond block and 2 blaze spawners plus the lava pool. Whereas the Crimson dungeon, while hoglins do spawn in this area, this tree is pretty safe in terms of like encountering actual mobs. Like there's 1 blaze spawner down there, 1 up here. There's actually a gold block there too, by the way. And while this doesn't look all that safe, consider this. This is safer than the other dungeon that we encountered. And you can easily break this or place torches around or whatever. And then you don't even need to go up to that second layer. You can just mine the diamonds and then go straight down. So overall, they do need to balance that kind of loot as well. And the chests themselves are the exact same as the overworld ones. And yeah, just like overall, these dungeons in the Nether are probably the most like imbalanced one. Here's another dungeon that has piglin brutes. There are 4 diamond blocks here. This one I'd say is probably the most balanced one out of them all, but having a piglin brute 2x2 spawner is pretty scary for 4 diamond blocks. Just overall, the dungeons do need to be tweaked a little bit. So, ooh, there's a actual medieval house kind of thing going on here. Oh, witch's house. Here's an end dungeon. These are put in the most awkward locations sometimes, but here we have some evoker spawners. And these dungeons, from what I've seen, there was actually an illager one, or not illager one, an illusioner one. I actually think this dungeon was cut off. There's clearly like more missing. So this isn't a good representation of the dungeon. So here's a better example of a dungeon. Here we have wither skeletons. We have a set of dragon heads. The chests are the same. The loot in here, I mean, it's pretty good loot. I know that the illusioner one that I saw, when I saw the illusioner one, there was no blocks at all. So overall, they need to do some tweaks here and there to balance out the dungeons. But overall, that is it for this mod pack. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, want to subscribe, the link to the pack is in the description. So make sure to check it out, and I'll see you guys next video. Take care and good.